News First, Newsline Prime with Araz Shaukat Ali.
A very good evening to you. This is Newsline Prime, and we're broadcasting live from the News First studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And this will be the last in the current series that's of Newsline that's going to be broadcast in the evening. Newsline will revert from Monday solely and exclusively on TV1 in the mornings from 7 to 7:30 in the mornings, or Monday through to Friday. So tomorrow will be the last of the evening programs. We find that our viewers want it in the morning, and so here we go. Now then, today has been a remarkable day. There's traffic everywhere, and the reason, of course, is that the young and youthful Sajid Premadasa kicked off his campaign officially at Golfist Green to a humongous crowd, which some people estimate at a minimum of 60,000 people. Well, it's been a wonderful day, and if you follow the news on News First, you'll find further details and images of that event today. Now, in the program, on the program today, we've got a person who is the General Secretary of the National Movement for People's Power, and he's right here with us, Dr. Nihal Abhisingha.
Yes.
Good evening to you, Doctor.
Good evening.
And thank you very much for being on Newsline Prime. Doctor, the National People's Movement, Movement for People's Power.
Yes.
NMPP.
PP, yes.
What brought about this coalition, and who consists of this coalition?
No, actually, after 2015,
Yeah.
when we realized that the change that the people of this country wanted,
Yeah.
it was not happening, and then we, people like us, you know, professionals and artists and few other, the people who are contributing to the society's upliftment, we discuss about why we could not get this change.
Mm-hmm.
So originally we were discussing with among our circles, and we were thinking of how to bring about a real change.
Mm-hmm.
So our first move, we realized, because we were not doing any direct politics. Mm-hmm. So we were government servants. I was working in the UN, so I did not have opportunity to get into any political discussions in the past. So people like me, we thought that our first move should be to develop policies for this country, because I've been
real achievable policies.
Yes, we have been watching this politics in this country,
Yeah.
and every time when a government come into the power, and also when a minister taken over a ministry, they change their policies and strategies. So I have been to several other countries around the world. So we know that the countries which have developed, they do have set of national policies, and whatever the government comes, they align with the national policies, and then they continue to develop the country. So that's how people have developed. And in this country, my observation for last 50 years.
50.
Yeah, 50, because
Yeah.
I was 15 when I was in when I came to know about the political systems in the country, when I was doing my O level. I mean, in my college far away. But I mean that's the time that we were I was becoming interested in what is happening in the country, in the political arena. But now this time we thought that we will develop set of policies that the country need from our point of view. We see that the economy, the agriculture, whether it is education or health, it really, we do have enough issues to be faced, and we need to be corrected in our policies and strategies. So we got together, and we were discussing among different groups, but we thought we only professionals cannot do this change, right?
On your own?
On our own. So we thought that we need politicians who are not corrupted. I mean,
Are there such people?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
Yeah, we have.
What
we are
percentage in 225?
I mean, it's 6 out of 225, I would say. But that doesn't mean that, you know, I mean, there are other people who probably we can't see much because they are in, I mean, they are in groups which are corrupt.
I see.
So that's I mean, when they.
So you mean they're sort of painted with corruption?
Because they are with them.
Association.
They are with them because of their associates, right?
So, and your candidate is who for?
Is Anura Kumar Dissanayake.
I see. So this is the JVP is the lead partner. In this.
Lead political partner, and we have United Left Front and also National Front for Good Governance. So those are the three major political parties, and we have about another 26 political parties. They have not registered, but they are doing some political work as well as civil work in support. So these civil and political oriented organizations, now we got together. We have about 29 organizations now. So we have, I mean, among us we had a good discussion, and we thought that we need the candidate who can really, you know, address the public in such a way that can win the public, I mean, of this country. We are supporting as a professional group. We developed this set of policies now based on our NIO, National Intellectual Organization policies. Now with this NPP group, that is National Movement for People's Power group, now we are preparing our policies and strategies, and very soon we will launch 8 you know, seminars to discuss different sectors of policies and strategies that we are putting forward to the upliftment of this country.
Wonderful. And on Newsline Prime, as we do on Newsline, we encourage you to send us your questions by SMS to 0772 300 305. A card should come up on your screen in time now. And of course, we are in conversation with the General Secretary of the National Movement for People's Power, the JVP-led movement, and with its presidential candidate, Anura Kumar Dissanayake, and we're in conversation with its General Secretary, Dr. Nihal Abesinghe. Now then, Doctor, it sounds very idealistic, but I think the people, it'd be fair for me to say that the people are rather fed up of false promises. Lots of promises, very little delivery. And you know, when you ask people, especially politicians from the ruling government, they will tell you that they will crow about the freedom of movement, the freedom of speech, the right to information, and you know, the elimination of the culture of the so-called white van syndrome, and that people can discuss things. We can discuss it. Mind you, we've in this network we didn't wait for a right to information. We've been doing this from the year dot, right? But those are what they say. But my counter to you is, whilst all that is true, the people had a legitimate expectation at the end of the war that their cost of living will actually come down, and that somehow that's how it will be achieved, because there was always the war. Anything that went wrong, they blamed it on the war. The war didn't come cheap. Well, yes, but honestly, the people have been fully let down. What can your party, your movement, realistically achieve to help the people?
Actually, we are now framing our policies and strategies for the upcoming election. So what we are really trying to do is really we identify different subject areas, and we are looking as professionals in those areas how to overcome the issues that the country is facing in these selected areas. Really, we started with 10 different subject areas, including economy, health, education, environment, agriculture, transport, sports, information technology, all that. This is actually we as a country, I think for last 70 years what we have, I mean, if we look back, what we see is that each time when a government comes to power, right, they bring they give some promises offhand. They don't know even what they are really going to give. When they, I mean, if you can remember correct, in 1977, Jayawardena, who came to the power, and he said this famous Ataratallata, I mean, that's the main slogan. And then when Bandaranayake came in 1994, it's 354 bread.
Yeah.
Right. So those are really the slogans that they came up with over the years. And during Jayawardena's time, they introduced this it was Gammudava, right? They were carrying out various programs through that. And then Samurdhi, Janasaviya, and then now Gamperaliya. All these are really to keep their vote base stable.
Is it designed to keep those people
exactly
down there?
Exactly,
down
because
there and dependent on the Samurdhi.
See, when I think when this government started governing the country in 2015, it was about 14 lakhs Samurdhi recipients. Now it's 20. How does
so is this obviously, in your opinion, is it being used more for political mileage?
Exactly, yes, because when actually, I know that this Samurdhi program, they have very good, programs to bring people, economy up. But ultimately what happens is then the politicians involved in the business, they want their people to be supported, and so they want them to keep on doing that. I don't know. For me, with the information that I have, none of these families have been taken off from the program. That their lives have not changed much, or maybe they have changed a little, but now they are keeping in that program because that's their vote base.
I see. But it's also fair to say, I think, that if you're a minority party, you sort of know that you're not going to win. Is that true?
We are trying our best to win, right? Because
but realistically, what do you think? How many votes?
In 2015, people want a change.
Yeah.
So now I think there is about 30% vote base floating, right? I think they can take a decision now this time, probably, that if they believe, not us, believe our policies and strategies, and if they can contribute to our success, I am sure the change will be there, because we just don't want to change the government. We want to change the society, and then
you want to change the systems too?
System, yes.
Right.
We want to change the system, because when we change the system, only people realize the difference.
How do you intend, because whatever you say, it's unlikely that it took Imran Khan 20 years of politics to get to where he was.
Yes.
I think the first time round he probably lost his deposit, 20 years before, but 20 years later, I think there was a fair expectation that when Imran Khan came in, straight from the cricket field onto the political field, that he'd win and all that. and it must have come as a rather a shock to him that he didn't do very well at all. But he kept going on, but it took him 20 years. So in the same context, whilst your movement is rather new, what will you do? I mean, Sri Lanka probably can't wait 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We are not going to wait for 20 years because we are starting at this moment with 8 to 10 lakh vote base, right? And with this vote base, I am sure that if people of this country want a change, and if they see our policies and strategies are implementable,
right,
I am sure they will open their eye because, I mean, it is not easy to bring these forces together. Now this time we have brought almost all the professionals who have really benefited through this so-called free education system. At my age, it was totally free education.
And now?
No, it's not. It's, I think about, if I know that some children who are sitting for O-level, they spend about 6,000 to 7,000 for tuition fees only.
Every month?
Yes, apart from the traveling fee. So that type of, I mean, these difficulties probably will keep people, I mean, discussing of this, and if they see that our policies and strategies are good for a change, I am sure they will not wait for 20 years. So if we can really get a reasonable voting during this time, I think it will, if we, I mean, we do not know exactly what the cutoff point is, but once we get through that, I think this whole business will change.
Thank you. And I'll just take one question so far. I'll just take one. And there's several. Thank you very much for sending us your questions. Please keep sending them in. Please ask the learned gentleman whether he agrees with the suggestion of permanent secretaries concept, which we had in the past. But the quality of officers should be improved and selection should be on meritocracy like in Singapore. This will ensure stability on policies. So, do you agree with the suggestion of the permanent secretary concept?
I mean, can you please explain what exactly permanent mean, what is going on today?
No, the Sri Lanka Administrative Service,
yes,
in the past, when you had a ministry secretary, he was appointed and he was permanently for that ministry. Okay. So ministers came and went, governments changed, but the ministry secretary was permanent, he was there. But okay, today we find that permanent secretaries to ministries are based on political whims and fancies and ideologies.
Okay.
So you may find a perfectly good permanent secretary, a secretary, SLS man, who knows, let's say, aviation, because I know this happened. And when the government's changed, he's shunted around and sent to some other place where, his speciality isn't there. And of course, the permanent secretary is the chief accounting officer of the ministry.
I got your point.
Right.
See, I mean, if we really have a performance-based, change in the system, right? I'm sure that we will. That when the senior people come into those positions, they will be really gentlemen doing their job, right? But over the years, things have changed. Now the people who have gone up may not be the real, the performance-based good ones. So if we can really have a merit-based, selection system and performance-based selection system, I believe, yes, we can really do the change. But so what really, there are pros and cons. Now probably in India, I mean, the administrative service is very powerful, but sometimes it's too powerful. So there should be a balance, and there should be opportunities, equal opportunity for good people to be selected, and the country should be, it's not only that, the changes has to happen in all the areas. When that only that good people will come up and do the service.
I don't suppose the JVP is ever going to live down their activities 71 and 88, because I've got a question here.
Yes.
It says, in your opinion, Doctor, do you think that the JVP will in your opinion, Doctor, what was the damage to Sri Lanka from the JVP movements in 71 and 88?
So when I say, I mean, yeah, okay, we can think of a damage in sense of that, I mean, that is the destruction that happened during those periods,
Yeah.
right? But actually, my understanding is their objective was good, but the strategies they were chosen,
Yeah.
they were not good, right? But it did not happen in isolation. Now in 1959, when Fidel Castro came into power, it's throughout the world based on these socialist economic principles who are following. Those really the leftists thought that that's the way to capture
For everything.
Yeah. So I think that during that period, that throughout the world, that type of struggles took place, right? So I think that, I mean, now I can look back because that was 1971. I was doing my O level, right? So I mean, when we look back, I mean, that was, it was a not very good strategy that they used to come to power. And in 89, 88, it was totally different environment. Indian peacekeeping army was here, and the Jayawardena's regime was very tough, and then he postponed the elections, he proscribed the political parties. So that era, it was totally different approach, right? But I mean, I would look back and see that those were failed strategies, right? But last 30 years, you see,
It's been different.
It's totally different, and they were the parliamentarians really which represented the people of this country during last 30 years.
Talking about the present then,
Yes.
are you prepared for the kind of competition that you're going to face?
What do you mean by?
You have people who are apparently very, very popular. We had Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the former defense secretary, who is nominated by, by his party.
Yes, Sri Lanka.
The Sri Lanka
Podu Peramana, yes.
Peramana, and you have Mahinda Rajapaksa, who's very popular,
Yes,
apparently it seems. And then, of course, you have Sajid Premadasa, who has fought a long battle to be nominated by his own leader. And if we look at what happened today, the crowds that have turned up for Mr. Premadasa's official launch of his campaign, we may get an insight as to the kind of opposition the smaller contestants are going to face, and the money. If we look at the screen and you see the amount of people, there is absolutely nothing but a sea of heads, and whichever angle you twist your camera to, the crowds were undoubtedly there. It's not some Jumat, it's really there. So when you look at that, and the money, the enormous amount of money that is being propelled through the system, then your party might be kind of drowned in this whole thing.
We don't think. Actually, it's true that, this crowd can come from anywhere in the country.
They've come from all over the country.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So we know that this vote base is there for them.
Yeah.
So that vote base, right, if we think that it is going to stand it for, as I said earlier, that this floating vote percentage is there. If people start looking at our movement, right, we have professionals, we have politicians that are not corrupted, and we have the working class who really want to develop this country. So we have the right mix, I think. So when we have this right mix, and I think if we make a serious difference during this election, that will be the way forward. And I am sure this, whatever the vote base that we are going to gain during the president's election, that will be really boosted in the parliamentary elections. And we will try and get all these alternative groups together and to make a third, very strong third force. And if we really go into the parliament with a real force, I think we will do the change, because then all these just vote base, maintaining vote base will not happen, and people will spend money, public money, on the right spot, right? So that probably will change the whole system. And I am sure that, it's not us. This is not for me. You are not for my children, but it is children's children, right?
Mr. Hizbullah says that, and he's also a contestant, he's saying that he will gather the Muslim votes and then support the candidate who is more amenable to their concerns and
this has been happening over the last couple of years, right? So none of this single party did not get the majority, right? So these minority parties got together and then they formed the government, right? Because of the same reason, the governments could not really do what they really wanted sometimes.
Sorry to interrupt. Question coming in. Will Anura Kumara Dissanayake have something else on his mind, or the same thing on his mind?
What do you mean by
the same outlook as what you're saying?
Certainly, yes. We are in discussion, and this is how we are going to do it. And if we really can have a reasonable majority votes this time compared to what our vote base is.
Yeah. But the last time you contested, way back in 1990.
2017, it was this local government election. JVP alone had 7.
So are you all going to be doing the same thing? Are you all going to be contesting merely to gather the votes and then finally announce and say, look, we are going to support candidate XYZ?
No. This time our coalition will not support any party. Let them do.
You're absolutely clear on that.
Yes, let them do what they can.
Yeah.
And we will also show them, for the country, what we could do based on our approaches, and see that how we can win the masses. We will try to work with the general public, as we go on, and I am sure that when the country is asking for a change, there are these two parties, two fronts cannot do the change. Can you think of who will become their ministers? Maybe Gotabaya Rajapaksa is a popular candidate. He may get a large amount of votes. Sajith Premadasa also a popular candidate. They will get based on their popularity. But what's going to happen? Who are going to be their ministers? Will there be a change? And can they make a change if they are really trying to keep their vote base, as long as they rule the country? I think we now need a change, not for us probably, it's for the next, the younger generation. We have to have a country which people can stay in the country rather than going into the developed countries after their education.
The brain drain.
Exactly.
And all that.
65% of the children who are passing out each year, they are not contributing to the national economy. because their education, they don't have any vocational training, so they are going for very basic jobs, and then they earn only day to day for living. Right? Even people are going to the Middle East, the large numbers, for what they are going for. Can't we change it? Can't we make them some vocational based technical people to go out? So many things could be done, right?
And the sad part is no one's doing anything about it.
Yeah, there is no discussion. There is nobody forcing the government to do it. So we will become eventually a good pressure group, and I'm sure, I can tell you now, many of these, whatever the party bring the policies and strategies for this country in this election, I think most of them probably would be based on this.
Okay.
Right?
Let's build Sri Lanka.
Exactly.
Well,
so we like it. We want them to use this.
Good.
Right.
So, Dr. Nihal Abesinghe, thank you very much for being on Newsline Prime and explaining your standpoint. And we look forward to welcoming you on our network, on other programs, and also don't forget the radio. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That's the way it was on Newsline Prime. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening ahead of you. The traffic is probably just about easing only now, but you can catch up with all the latest news by watching the news bulletin on TV1 at 9 o'clock. Take care, and of course, God bless.
News First, Newsline Prime with Araz Shaukat Ali.